Good afternoon, class.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Fine, thank you, teacher.
I'm also fine. I'm happy to see all of you. Today we are going to continue with our lesson on hypertension. We began our discussion last week on hypertension and we defined what hypertension is. Julie, would you like to remind us what hypertension is?
It is elevated blood pressure.
Yes, that is correct. Hypertension is elevated, persistent elevated blood pressure. We also say that in our measurements of blood pressure, there is what we call diastolic blood pressure, and this is the pressure when the heart is at rest. And we also have what we call systolic blood pressure, the pressure when the heart is pumping blood. So these two measurements, the systolic blood pressure and the diastolic blood pressure, is what gives us the blood pressure measurement. And from the blood pressure measurement, it is when we will tell that someone has high blood pressure, which is what we call hypertension. In today's class, I have brought in something that I would like it to help us to understand this subject better. Has any one of us ever come across this instrument, this medical instrument or medical device? 1, 2, 3, only 3 people in a class of 20. You've never come across this machine? Those who have come across this, what is it used for? Yes?
Checking our blood pressure.
That is correct. This is an instrument that is used to take our blood pressure. And in medical terms, it is what is called sphygmomanometer. Lydia, why are you looking at me like that? You've never come across that term?
It is a very difficult name.
Yeah, it is true. It is called sphygmomanometer. Please go and check it further. There are various types of sphygmomanometers. This one is a digital one, but we also have another one which is manual. But this is what is commonly used now. But there is another manual one. So this is our sphygmomanometer. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Yes. This is it is a simplified one. The two readings that I have talked about, I have talked of systolic blood pressure and diastolic blood pressure. So on top is the systolic blood pressure and here is the diastolic blood pressure. And I've said diastolic blood pressure is when the heart is resting and the systolic is when the heart is pumping blood. And also there's another feature here. It is the pulse rate. It tells us our heartbeat per minute. So when you're doing blood pressure, we're able to check the systolic, the diastolic, and also the pulse rates per minute. So, anyone has ever used it? Wow, okay. What was your blood pressure the last time you checked?
122 out of 80.
Wow, so the 122 is the systolic and the 82 is the diastolic. I want us to try to measure the blood pressure and see what values we will get. Julie, do you mind us checking your blood pressure? No. Okay, put your pen down. No. When you're taking blood pressure, you're supposed to be relaxed. Are you relaxed? Yes. Are you anxious? No. Give me your hand. You put this one here. Your hand is too small. Okay, and then you relax. Are you relaxed? Yes. You have to be relaxed first of all. Yes, don't need to be anxious, and then I just press here, start. And then we wait for a few minutes so that the machine starts running. Oh, it stopped. Okay, let me start again. It looks like oh, okay, it is reading. Okay, let's wait for it to read. You wait for a few minutes. Okay, it has given us our readings. So Julie's blood pressure is 118/76. Does she have hypertension?
No.
Does she have hypertension?
No, teacher.
No, she doesn't have hypertension. If we would have gotten 150, would we say Julie has hypertension? We would say that. If we would have gotten 150 now, would we conclude she has hypertension?
No.
No, we will not conclude. Because we said it has to be persistent, elevated blood pressure. But this is only one reading. If you find that she's having 150, we'll do another reading, and another one, and another one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so everyone now knows how to take their blood pressure measurements. Do you promise to go and check your blood pressure measurement?
Yes.
Please, it's a very good habit that we need to know our blood pressure regularly. As we will see in our next class, is that hypertension is a killer disease. It doesn't show any symptoms unless it is further advanced. That is when it begins now to show the symptom. But it is a good habit. At least yearly we need to check our blood pressure measurement. So today we were looking at the sphygmomanometer, and we've said that it is an instrument that helps us to check our blood pressure levels. It has two readings, the systolic blood pressure and the diastolic blood pressure. When systolic is over 120 and diastolic is over 80, that is when we now begin to say that someone is having hypertension. So I hope everyone has understood that. And before we conclude our class, I would like to ask a few questions to test our understanding. What is the name of this instrument, Lydia?
It is schizos. I can't pronounce it.
Okay, it's called a sphygmomanometer. Okay, but it is the BP machine. There are two readings. We talked of two readings that help us to detect the blood pressure level. Number one, Julie.
Diastolic.
The diastolic pressure, it is the lower one. And the upper one is called?
Systolic.
Good students. The upper one is called the systolic. And the very final question is that who would accurately define for us what hypertension is? We have been looking at hypertension. We have looked at the BP machine. I want someone to define for us what is hypertension. Yes.
Persistently elevated blood pressure.
That is very correct. When someone has persistent elevated blood pressure, and we say in a day when we do 3 consecutive readings and we find that your blood pressure is more than 120/80 millimeters of mercury, we can conclude that that pressure is high. But of course, we will tell you to come the next day and the next day to confirm those measurements. So I think we have understood what we were looking at today. We have been defining hypertension. We have looked at the BP machine. In our next class, we will continue to do on classification of hypertension, because after we have known how to take the blood pressure, we can now be able to classify hypertension in its various stages. So I want you to be thinking about how do we classify hypertension, and also some of the risk factors that will lead to someone developing hypertension. Thank you. Let us meet next week to continue with our discussion on hypertension.